Welcome back to Ridiculous Ramblings, loves. I'm your host, Amy. It's Wednesday. We're halfway to the weekend. Whoa, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. I hope everyone's had a good week so far. Only 2 more days till the weekend. We can do this. We've got it. Unless you're like me and work Saturday, then woohoo, come on Sunday. Man, I love lazy Sundays. The kiddos are off with my parents for church and hanging out with Momo and Papa, while Mommy's at home working on her podcast and mountains of laundry. Ain't no mountain of laundry high enough. The bounty and tide can't defeat the teenage funk. Typically on Sundays, if Sean and I aren't working, we like to go have breakfast, a little date. Actually, Sean and I's first date was a breakfast date. I was working from home and had a pretty weird schedule. I worked from 12:30 in the afternoon till 9 at night, which made dating pretty hard. It was either a breakfast date, a speed date because everything closes early since the pandemic, or catch me on the weekend between momming. Sean and I had been talking for about a week before we had our first date. I was really worried he was going to bail when I told him my availability. Oh no, the dreaded date. Are they married? In a relationship? Do they have a weird kink for breakfast food? Maybe not. Maybe they're a single parent with limited time for social gatherings or romantic encounters, or their kiddo just got sick and they had to reschedule. Have some grace for the single parents. Dating's hard enough, but add all the responsibilities with being a parent on top of it, and whew. It doesn't mean we're not interested, but for me, my kids always came first. When Sean asked me out, I suggested a breakfast date or maybe try to plan something over the weekend. He said breakfast sounded great, so we made plans to meet at Tradewinds after I dropped the kids off at school. I pulled up to the restaurant in my minivan, blasting some metal, in my cutest sweater, my best non-mom jeans, and a pair of high-heeled boots, and spotted Sean chilling in his Jeep. After a quick hug and hello, it was time to sit down and have one of the best dates I've ever been on. We sat down roughly around 9 o'clock and didn't walk out and say goodbye till 12. Thankfully, I didn't live too far from the restaurant, and before I had even been on the road for less than 5 minutes, I had a text that read, "How soon is too soon to ask for a second date?" And they lived happily ever after. But today, we're not here to talk about dating, but we are here to talk about food. Now, let's get to it. Sean and I share a lot of common passions, food being one of them. I never really ventured out a lot to the local eateries until I met Sean. With a few picky eaters in tow, sometimes hitting a drive through or a certain restaurant with good chicken strips was my best option for making sure everyone was going to enjoy a family meal together. I've explored more of my city since being with Sean than I have since I've lived here over the past 20 years. The Michiana area has a lot to offer. We really do have a great mix of different cultural influences in the area. And it's not hard to find something for everyone to enjoy, from upscale dining to some of the best dive bars. Now, here on Wednesdays, we like to feature local restaurants and businesses. So, if you're a local business or restaurant, or if you'd like to recommend a local business or a restaurant, see me after the show. See, listen to me doing all the talking. Ladies and gentlemen, the Galaxy Defender, my best friend. Let's hear it for Chef Sean. Woo! Hey, good looking. What's cooking?
Oh, everything's cooking around here. uh, you know, uh, we're going to talk about food. Let's talk about breakfast, since that's where we started off. And, it's not fair to say that our first date was breakfast, but our first 3 dates were all breakfast dates.
They were.
And as I mentioned last week, I've got this kind of weird obsession of I order the same thing or a very close approximation of the same thing the first time I go to a place for breakfast, just to test the waters. Let's call it that. 2 eggs over medium, hash browns, the meat, whatever it is,
We
bacon
have
or
the meats.
sausage. And I always ask for the rye toast. Sadly, eh, they did not have the rye toast on our first date, so I went with wheat toast. But I really don't know that I could say how great that meal was because I was so drawn in with the conversation we were having. And we discussed everything from like our family, our upbringing, and it truly was a getting to know you sort of date. Um, so the food is kind of in the background for me. Um, so let's go to the second date, which was at the Chicory Cafe, which I do remember. Um, a little bit better because it was a second date. Um, they had a breakfast po' boy, which we got. I think that was a special item, and we also got the beignets.
So good.
Mm. Um, I would put those as someone who's lived around the country and spent some time in the greater Louisiana area. Um, in my previous life, I worked a lot in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Lafayette. I will say, everyone says, oh, you have to go to Cafe Du Monde. You have to go to Cafe Du Monde. They've got the best beignets. Yeah, no, they don't. Sorry. It's a tourist trap. And they're good. It's fried dough with powdered sugar on it. It's delicious. But it's not the best. If you really want to get the best beignet and you find yourself in that area, take a drive up north from New Orleans, go up to Metry. That's how the locals call it, Metry.
Gotta put that southern inflection on it.
Yeah, if you look at it if you look at it how it's spelled, it's Metairie, but Metry. And right off Veterans Highway, there's a little shop called Morning Call. It's been open since the 20s, and it's a cash only place, and they serve beignets, coffee, jambalaya, gumbo, a few other items. Best beignets, best coffee. Definitely go there. So if I were going to rank the beignets I've had in my life, Morning Call in Metairie. Metairie, if you're going to look it up. Then I would say Chicory Cafe in South Bend. That was the location we went to. Then Cafe Du Monde. Our third date was at Jeannie's Cafe, which is right off from the high school there.
Yep, it's right across from John Adams High School.
And that was the date that sealed the deal. I'm gonna just throw it out there on Front Street. It was because their grits are amazing.
Oh my gosh. These are not like 5-minute like instant grits, with the little Quaker dude on the front of it. No, these are someone's mama is back there sweating her ass off over a pot of boiling water, and that whisk is just a whipping. I mean, they are so thick and creamy and just absolutely delicious.
They were outstanding. And the omelet I ordered this time went off the norm. I got an omelet with hash browns. This omelet was as big as your head. It was huge. Like I didn't even think I got through half of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And the server was so sweet. She was like, oh honey, you don't have to, you can ask for a 1 or 2 egg omelet. I'm like, how many eggs were in this omelet?
I think that was like a half dozen
Yeah,
egg omelet.
I think it was a 4-egg omelet or something. It was ridiculous, but so good. I'm sorry, it wasn't so good. It was
Dope.
so good.
If you're not familiar with the show, we rate things based off of Lindsay's little cousin. She could not say so good. She said it was do good. So that's how we refer to things, and that's how we rate everything on the show.
Yes.
It is, how many do goods is this?
Oh man, Genie's Cafe on a scale of 1 to 5, it's a solid 4.5. Do good.
I would totally have to agree. Not only were the grits amazing, but I'm a huge like corned beef hash fan. So they do make their own in-house, and let me tell you, you will not be disappointed if you choose that as like your protein or your meat side.
And I I did get a taste. It was very good. Got to admit. Um, and Amy definitely goes for the corned beef hash. I think that may have been another seal the deal.
Yes, I 110% think it was. So Sean and I became an official couple on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, we
um,
did.
so Sean's family had all came up from Muncie, where everything's on McGalliard. Um, they were hanging out at the house, and of course, because I got off so late, by the time I got there, it was just everybody was having a cocktail and playing Cards Against Humanity. So dinner was pretty much done. So I kind of just snacked around and had some cocktails and, made some questionable cards on.
Nothing is better than playing Cards Against Humanity and having to explain as a man to your mother what mansplaining is.
It was a magical night, you guys. It was absolutely fantastic. But Sean had made a traditional St. Patrick's Day spread. He had made the corned beef. He made the cabbage. What were the fancy potatoes?
I made Colcannon
Cannon,
potatoes.
okay.
I did corned beef, but I roasted it. Not the boiled, you know, the more common boiled. It was a roasted corned beef with roasted vegetables, Colcannon. I made soda bread, and
it was so delicious. Sorry, I can't help it. It was right there.
and then the next morning we got up for breakfast.
Wink, wink.
And I was whipping something together.
And he made corned beef hash, not knowing that at that time, I think that was like my all-time gets me geeked up kind of breakfast food. And let me tell you, hands down, it was absolutely phenomenal. Like I've had my fair share of corned beef, like, and it was amazing. And yeah, I was like, yeah, if I didn't already love this dude, that you know what that was? That was my white van with free candy. That's how you got me, was the corned beef.
My gosh. Hey, little girl, you want some corned beef?
Okay.
Yeah, and that's always been, kind of my jam. Coming from a culinary world is make a meal and then have an idea of what to do with the food on the backside and not have it be a leftover. I think the other meal early in our relationship was I had made something with like a skirt steak and did that and then completely like flipped it around and did like a cold noodle salad with it.
Oh my gosh.
Had some cucumber and carrot
And not just like cucumbers and carrots, like the most beautiful julienne cucumbers and carrots I have ever seen.
yeah, oh, sesame sauce and
Oh, and then we had some what kind of lettuce was that? You could have it just as the salad or you could turn it into a lettuce wrap as well.
yes. So I had some Boston lettuce, and we did lettuce wraps with it.
Ugh, this man
Because
works
I just happen to
miracles.
have that sitting around the house. As all people have Boston bib lettuce sitting around the house. Man, I'm weird.
But you know what? I'm here for it. I love it.
No. I think the last place we should talk about is the the original Pancake House.
I had always like drove past there, but I had never been inside, not until you and I had went there.
And it was a spot that when I lived here, so I moved to the Mishawaka South Bend area when I was 10 years old. And I lived here until after I graduated high school, and then I moved to Indianapolis before I ventured off to many other parts of the country. But during my high school years, that was our go-to place for breakfast. And if you've ever been on a weekend, you've got to get there early. There's a line. There's always a line. And it was a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm pretty sure it was a Sunday, and we were online. It was just me and my friend Adam.
What's up, Adam?
And we were almost to the door, and then this group of people ran up, and it was a huge group of people. It wasn't like 2-3 people. It was like a half dozen or more people walked up, and they were like, "Hey, Judy," not a real name. I don't remember her name.
The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
"Thanks for saving a spot." And they jumped in line in front of us and pushed us way back down the sidewalk. And at that point, I looked at Adam. Adam looked at me, and Adam went, "This is a bunch of bull hockey." Not what he said. "I'm not going to eat with a bunch of freaking," not what he said, "cheaters." And he stormed off. And I went, "Okay, well, I guess we're not eating here." And I think we went to like IHOP or maybe got McDonald's or something. I don't know. He was so angry. And I had not been since. But in the last year, I was with my mom coming home from a doctor's appointment, and I was like, "Oh, hey, let's go here." Got my standard 2 eggs over medium, hash browns,
Creature of habit.
bacon. I was like, "Oh, wow, they do a really good job." And Amy and I went, and we got pancakes. We did try their pancakes, and we got breakfast. You got the corned beef hash.
I did.
How was the corned beef hash?
It was good.
The pancakes, we liked. The syrup, not so much.
I'm not I am used to the
It's real maple syrup.
Mrs. Butterworth or whatever brand we had at the house. I didn't grow up eating like real maple syrup, and it was not for me.
And food is very much more emotional than it is anything else. So if you grow up liking something, the opposite will not be right for you. So, but the syrup was off. Amy didn't care for it. The pancakes I thought were really good.
The pancakes were fantastic.
And I think what we're going to do next time, because we have to go back, they offer a Dutch baby. And I've never had a Dutch baby.
Neither have I.
I've only read about them in books and seen them on Bob's Burgers.
And you have to do the line. Every time we talk about the Dutch baby, I'm like, you have to do the line. Do the line.
The line is, the Dutch baby takes 25 minutes and they're ready to leave. And Linda says, "My Dutch baby hasn't come out yet. It's not been 20. Oh, my Dutch baby. 22 minutes? It's a preemie, just like Jesus."
We are a Bob's Burgers loving household. Like even my youngest one, Nora, she's 8. She loves watching Bob's Burgers. If she hears us watching it, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're watching Bob's Burgers? Can I watch it with you?" And then we all just snuggle and watch Bob's Burgers.
Yep. So we're gonna go back, get the Dutch baby, and give that a whirl. Very excited about that. Um, yeah, I think that's it.
Speaking of my corned beef hash, kind of an obsession. Let's call it an obsession at this point. There are a couple of good places around here to check that out. So they have the Curve Cafe, that's in Osceola. They also make their own in-house corned beef hash. I will say it is good, but I do think I like Jeannie's a little bit better. There's like the way everything is diced is a little bit better. It's more uniform.
Yep.
So like the meat, I like that the meat was a little bit thicker, but the potatoes and the onions, they had a good like consistency. They were finally not dashed. Good Lord. They were finally diced. Ha!
Nice.
See, I will get there eventually. Leave me enough breadcrumbs. I will find my way back. The one at the Curve, it was good, but it was more of a chunky style. So like the meat was chunky, the potatoes were chunky, the onions were chunky. Not that it wasn't good, it just wasn't for me.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And truly, and from the culinary side, uniform cuts are super important.
Not just for the visual effect, it
No.
also has a lot to do with how everything is cooked evenly, and also it provides a good mouthfeel. You don't want like a massive chunk of meat and then like a massive chunk of undercooked potato or undercooked onion or what
Yes.
have you. It's yeah, it's no, cool.
It's I would put that as number 3 as the thing that annoys me watching TikTok cooking videos. Uh, Number 1 would be people like putting everything into a pan and mixing it. Like I don't like use a mixing bowl,
Or
people.
we're gonna make this pie. Let's put everything inside of the pie shell and mix it together. So
Yes.
our pie crust will be
Super goopy and gross.
yes.
So yeah, that, and then just, watching people cut things with like a paring knife, and Amy's watching me as I'm like making the motion of it. It's like, okay, Mama Gail, I get it. That's how you've done it your whole life, and God love you. I love watching your videos. I'm gonna make your biscuits. I think your gravy looks awful, but your biscuits look amazing.
I feel like it's kind of so speaking from experience, I think that's a weird thing with Southern people. You're either really good at making biscuits or you're really good at making gravy. If you're good at making both, that's like an anomaly.
Okay.
Because I've had some really great biscuits, but some really bad gravy. But then I've had some really great gravy and some really bad biscuits. It's like, maybe the two of y'all should get together and compare notes.
You know what? Um, I will. I will say I think you might be right, because I personally cannot make biscuits for anything. Anything is not the word I want to use there. Um, but I would like to think my sausage gravy is pretty dang good.
Sean's sausage gravy is way better than mine. We kind of trade off. He will make the gravy, and I will make the biscuits.
Oh, her biscuits! Holy cow! They only get better every time. She does them in the cast iron skillet. They get like flakier and fluffier. I can't make biscuits for anything.
You know what the secret is?
Lard.
Lard, all the lard. My dad and I were talking about this. So all of my family is from the South. It's either Tennessee or it's Alabama. And my aunt Esther, she had went to a restaurant and they were like, "Oh, hey, Miss Esther, how you doing?" And she's like, "Fine." They said, "What'd you think about the biscuits?" And she said, "You know what they're missing?" They're like, No, Miss Esther, what are they missing? We put butter in there. Honey, it's not butter. You need to put lard in there. She made them some biscuits and brought it back to the restaurant. There's just like a little mom and pop kind of place, and they are if you're Southern, they were cat head biscuits, which means they're like literally the size of a cat head. Like they were massive. They were so oh god, they were so fluffy and just oh. And that's the secret. If you're gonna take a try at making some homemade biscuits, you have to use lard. There is no calorie cutting in Southern delicacies and cuisine. Use that butter, baby. Use that lard. Use that full fat whole
You know
milk.
what? You know what? Thin might be in, but fat's where it's at.
That is exactly true.
And there's no dicing, no slicing. That's the truth.
You see, as a skinny Southern person, they're honey, they're either depressed or they got the sugar foot and they've had to cut back.
Or they're on meth. Sorry.
That hits a little too close to home. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like I make an okay biscuit, but nothing to be proud or like, woohoo, look at my biscuits. But I would like to think that I make a dang good gravy.
And not just sausage gravy, but like I'm gonna go back to Thanksgiving. I like the first year the gravy was amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was top tier. But I think this year's gravy, I think you outdid yourself. Like that was some damn good gravy.
I didn't do anything different than I did the previous year.
You know how I make turkey gravy? I pop the top off and I warm it up.
Oh, no.
Not you.
No.
Tell all of our lovely listeners how Sean makes the gravy.
So, well, it starts with how I make turkey, which is I piece out the turkey. I don't roast a whole turkey, and I know you don't get that beautiful picture of the whole big.
It's not a Norman Rockwell
picture. No, I piece it out. I carve the breast off the bone. But I piece it out. So I literally roast the breast boneless, the leg separated out, the thigh separated out, keep the carcass. I roast the carcass. I throw all the meat on sheet pan, laying on top of all the vegetables, the celery and onions and carrots. I roast all of that. And then when the meat's done, pull it out. I roast off the carcass. And when it gets nice and super dark brown and all of the, can I be gross about this? All of the collagen and stuff starts like getting really hot. Dump that into boiling pot of water. Then I throw the vegetables in and I just make a stock out of that. I also throw in all the, the neck bone and the giblets. I roast all that stuff as well. Just let it reduce down till it's like dang near nothing. And then slap in some roux, after straining it all out. And I make gravy, and apparently it's pretty good gravy.
It's honestly it's the best gravy I've ever.
There are herbs in there as well. I mean, I throw in some sage and some thyme and some other stuff, a little bit of salt, pepper, but
time after time.
You know what? When I'm making the gravy, I got all the time in the world.
Oh my goodness. There's never a shortage of puns in this household. There's never a shortage of laughter. There's definitely never a shortage of food. Something just tickled your funny bone. Why don't you share with us?
No, I was just thinking about I was making and this has been a year ago or so, but I was making beets
Mhm.
and I was peeling them. And Mikey walked in. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I had one in my hand. I was like, "Well, I'm about to drop a beet." And I dropped it into the sink. And he looked at me and was like, "What?" I was like, I picked up another one. I was like, "I'm about to drop a beet." And I dropped a second one. He was like, "Sigma." And he walked away. And then I had to look up what Sigma was.
You would think that they would be used to that after living with me. I'm like the literal embodiment of dad jokes. I have all the puns. Like I'm ready to go. I'm actually ready to go for breakfast at this point. Definitely some good breakfast spots here in the area. Not that I don't enjoy rolling through McDonald's and having a crispy hash brown and a Coke, but there is really something about going to just a little local, mom and pop kind of restaurant, family owned restaurant, and just it's not so much. I mean, the food is fantastic, but the environment is so nice. Like it's so warm and inviting. Everyone knows everybody. The service is always outstanding. So go out there, support local. Hopefully, we've inspired you to go and check out some local places that we mentioned. There's the original Pancake House, which is over there in South Bend. We've got Jeannie's Cafe, which is over in South Bend, all kind of hanging out around that same area. We have the Curve Cafe out in Osceola. That's a good spot. Also, another worthy mention. I don't think you and I have been there. The Golden Egg and Elkhart is another little kind of
Oh,
greasy spoon place, and oh man,
we need to go there.
really good breakfast. And if you like a good Reuben sandwich, they have a very good Reuben sandwich. So you should definitely check them out as well.
I am a fan of a good Reuben.
And it's good. It's crispy. It's dough good.
Oh, how many dough goods?
Oh, how many dough goods? I would say they're like a 3.4 dough goods.
All right. Well, I think that's a plan for next weekend, and we should. Well, not next weekend. It's Christmas, so
Yeah, I don't think they're probably going to be open.
yeah.
But that's okay. You know what? It'll give us some place to go and eat afterwards when
There
we're
you go.
tired of eating all of the leftovers from Christmas.
Oh, you know what we should do? Next Wednesday, we should talk about local bakeries because that came up today.
Oh, okay.
Um, uh, in my physical therapy.
Oh,
There's a cake shop in Elkhart, and then I was like, "Oh, I love West End," and then someone was like, "Oh, have you ever gone here?" And so we should talk about local bakeries.
there we go. I'm
All
down
right.
for
Sorry,
it.
I'm jumping ahead.
So sorry. That was not scripted.
Anyway, I'll let you wrap it up.
Well, yeah, so I think we've got some pastries in our future, and I mean, who's not down for some pie or some cake in their future, right? Sorry,
Sorry.
we're fighting off the colds. Well, I think that about does it for today. I hope wherever you're listening from, you're not fighting off a cold. I hope you're doing well and the rest of your week is good. Hopefully, we've inspired you to check out some of our favorite breakfast spots. Try the corned beef hash. Extra crispy. Mmm. Hey, do you know what else you could do while your food cools down? You could check out my website. If this is your first time listening to the show, it's called Riddickulous Ramblings. How do you spell that? Well, let me tell you how. It's RIDDICKULOUS. You can leave a comment, a topic for discussion, or just a hey girl, hey. Or you can even check out some pictures and listen to the show right there. More of a Facebook fan? I got you. Riddickulous Ramblings is up and active. More old school and want to drop me a line? I got what you need. Riddickulousramblings@gmail.com. Are you a YouTuber? Well, got you covered there too. Just started a new YouTube channel. You can listen to the show, you can like and subscribe, do your thing. If you want to just listen and not have to do all the fancy doodads, I'm available on all streaming services, including Apple. See, I finally figured it out. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Well, until next time, ta ta for now. Okay, love you. Bye.
See ya. Thanks.